Hello, and welcome to my game review for Bluebeard's Bride. We are going to be taking a look at the game that I have up on my screen right now, going through that and seeing what it's like. This is a game that I've been interested in checking out for a while. It's been described to me as a tabletop game of feminine horror, and I'm curious to see what it's about. I haven't looked at it at all before. I haven't played it. I've only seen the cover art before. I've heard good things overall, but I'm also like I wanna see some of the how it handles some of the more sensitive things in here. Um, with that, I think we're just gonna jump into taking a look at this because this is a long book. There's a lot of content in here. We've got 130 pages to go through, so there's some stuff that we're going to be taking a look at. Really nice cover. I like the art. It's very evocative of what we're going to be looking at. The blue contrasts very nicely with the sort of faded yellow that they've got as highlights, and we've got here it's written by Whitney, Strix, Beltrán, Marissa Kelly, and Sarah Richardson. Awesome. So I will preface this one and say I know that this is a game that does deal with more sensitive topics. So this is a content warning for what could be in here. It is a horror tabletop RPG. So there's a few things about that. I think that some of the stuff that y'all can expect to see is themes potentially probably of abuse and other things. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that I hope that the game will actually address those before we really dig into it. But I'm gonna say those as part of the start of this. Cool. Ooh, another cool piece of art here. Rib cage. Nice piece of the B and the B for Bluebeard, I'm guessing. After several years going backwards and forwards, she was forced to bring him the key. Bluebeard, having very attentively considered, said to his wife, "Why is there blood on the key?" "I do not know," cried the poor woman, paler than death. Based on the fairy tale Bluebeard. So I don't actually know the fairy tale about Bluebeard. I probably should have looked that up a little bit beforehand, but if we've got time at the end, we'll maybe do a quick search. But maybe the game will also tell us. So Bluebeard's Bride was heavily influenced by Urban Shadows, Apocalypse World, and Monster Hearts. So all games that I think are generally good games. So I like that. I didn't actually realize that they were inspired by those, so that's cool. This game is dedicated to those souls brave enough to seek out terror, ghosts, and things that go bump in the night. I like the font choice actually. It feels very crisp for what they're doing. Okay, so let's take a look at the table of contents. Introduction, what is this? That's going to be good because I don't know what a lot of this is. We have the beginnings, the bounded conversation. Looks like this is a lot of how to play the game, a dark lesson. And then on page 97, they have an example afterward. Interesting. Okay, cool. So 4 chapters. It looks like an introductory chapter, how to play in the GM chapter. So let's just jump into it. Ooh, art again. Nice. Introduction, a game of horror. Okay, so let's see. I think we're going to spend a bit of time here sort of just acclimatizing ourselves to what's going on and figuring out what this game is about. So it says here, Bluebeard's Bride is a tabletop role-playing game of supernatural horror set in a familiar tale. The tale starts out simply enough. One room in Bluebeard's house is forbidden to the bride. She eventually falls prey to her curiosity and opens it, discovering gruesome evidence that reveals her husband to be a killer of women. Okay, well, that's where the content warnings come in, folks. It's Gonna sip my water on that one. Yep. So that is gonna be, I think, a lot of the theme of this game. So keep that in mind if you're watching and it doesn't make you comfortable. The game you play with this book is different. You and your friends explore the room of Bluebeard's home as his bride, creating your own beautifully tragic version of the dark fairy tale. Each player takes on the role of an aspect of the bride's psyche, a sister, who guides the bride through Bluebeard's house armed with little more than a set of keys. Each of you takes turns speaking as these aspects of her psyche would speak, deciding what actions the bride takes, pushing the bride deeper into the mysteries of each room, and provoking new horrors along the way. You and your sisters may not always agree, mimicking the internal struggle we all sometimes feel. I like that. I actually really enjoy that you're playing one character. There's a whole multitude of like implications of playing one character, as far as things like you don't have to worry about coming up with a different story thread for each person. If it's one PC being played by multiple characters, it's one thread, and that can feel really good when you're doing a story. One sister may feel the need to rebel and push further into her investigation, while another sister labors to regain control in the face of her fears. The bride in your experience in this game is stronger for these types of conflicts and disagreements. The rules of this game involve some negotiation and a bit of chance. Sometimes you wear Bluebeard's wedding ring and directly control the bride's actions. Other times you roll dice to determine what happens next. No single person directs the story, not even the groundskeeper, who portrays the servants and horrors you meet along the way. The bride's story is unpredictable and engaging, leading her down a dark path to an unknown future. But the bride's story is not random. Your experiences in Bluebeard's house are guided by the original fairy tale, a framework that ties your story to the many tellings of the Bluebeard story. You move from room to room, gathering tokens and encountering horrors, before eventually making your way to the final room and sealing the bride's fate forever. Along the way, questions will arise. Okay, I think it's a nice opening introduction. It does give me an idea of what this is. It's very upfront about the fact that what this game, like what the secret is. Bluebeard's bride Bluebeard is a murderer, specifically of women. One thing I'm thinking about for this game, out of all the games I've reviewed so far, I always go into it and I'm like, this game really could have used a little bit of discussion on like how to have safety tools or any kind of that discussion at the table. Egon was the closest one that's come to it. This is one though that I really am hoping has it, because I feel like this maybe demands it a bit more than some of the other games. What will you find in your new husband's house? What horrors will haunt you? What darkness will you find within yourself? But in the end, there's only one question that matters for a new bride. Will you open the final door? Oh boy. Okay, so what do we need to play? Before you play, you need to gather a few friends. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Yep. If your friends are left begging for, you can always set aside some time for another session. They've included several sisters, so players can choose a different one each time. You may need some of the following. A dark corner to play on. Ambiance is everything when playing a horror game. I totally agree with that. Dim lights and shut the door so everyone can hear you whisper. A creepy soundtrack, or a spooky soundtrack with some creepy music. Yep, that's good. To play the game, you absolutely need players. Definitely. 3 to 5 others. Okay. The playbooks, I like that there's playbooks here. They're available online. I might go download those as part of doing this review and take a look at what they look like. A sister, you need a ring. A sister who wears the ring has more narrative control over the actions of the bride. Dice. You need 1 pair of 6-sided dice for when things get rough. Okay, so it's going to be a roll 2d6 and powered by the apocalypse style, it looks like. Oh, folks, we got something good coming up. I am excited. Dice, pencil, and paper. The X card. Thank you. This is the first game that I've reviewed that has explicitly included that, and that is... And this is a game that, demands it a little bit more. This tool makes playing together fun and comfortable. Available at tinyurl.com/xcardrpg. That's cool. One criticism of this, tiny URLs are... They should have just included the full URL. Tiny URLs are not as secure as actually including the real thing. But, that's neither here nor there. Time. Bluebeard's Bride works best when you take your time with the story. Try to set aside 3 to 4 hours to play the game. Why play this game? Please tell me more about this. Why go to all the trouble of gathering your friends when you can instead read a ghost story or rewatch your favorite horror film? Tabletop role-playing games allow you to explore horror directly and to collaborate on a terrifying tale with your friends. Watching a movie allows you to passively engage with monstrosity. The storyline is fixed and unmoving, not tailored to you or your fears. Often you can guess the tropes of a movie or a story and what the ending will be. Bluebeard's Bride has an ending that only you and your friends can discover through play. Okay, I think it's going to go on. I don't want to read this whole thing word for word. Oh, I like this paragraph, though. You have permission to give voice to the darkness within. And you may be surprised at what you find there, as well as what your friends reveal. Okay. This feeling can be liberating as well as terrifying, and if you can scare yourself, you can always scare everyone else at the table. That is both like... It's something to be aware of. You don't want to go overboard. Exploring your fears. Ooh. Before you take a deep breath and step off the path into the delightful darkness in which Bluebeard's Bride is played, there are a few things you should know. When I saw the X card thing, I was happy that they included that. It looks like they've got more stuff going on here, and I am excited. I do want to go over this because I feel like they're really hitting the right beats with this, and I want to see what they've included here. Before you begin, your group should discuss what kind of game Bluebeard's Bride is and whether or not it's a good fit for the group that night. It's to be played to frighten you as players. It requires some buy-in, but you should not. You would not show up to a funeral wearing a clown suit. Yes, you would not play a horror game when you'd rather play a game about superheroes. That is very valid. Bluebeard's Bride is designed to push the limits of your intellectual dark side and exercise everyone's twisted imaginations. Interesting and curious to see how the game unfolds and does that. But that means there's possibility for some people to get emotionally overwhelmed and upset by that content. Violence against women and a lack of agency are examples of 2 recurring themes that your group may or may not be in the mood to explore. I like that they mentioned that explicitly. We include some tools to help your group overcome truly upsetting content that may arise without spoiling anything about the game, such as the X card. This may not be a suitable game for your group at this time, and that is fine. This game was not designed to please everyone, and player preference matters a lot to a game's success. Awesome. I'm very happy that this is, you see this really before you dive into anything else. That's cool. Oh, and they have a page here on the X card. Oh my god, they have the whole rules. Fantastic. I'm not going to go over how exactly the X card works. It looks like it explains it here. I'll just briefly say that you have an X card, a card with an X on it at the table. If anyone taps it, picks it up or anything, you get rid of that content that you just encountered, undo, reverse it, and choose a different direction. But I encourage people to check that out if you're not familiar with it. Oh, nice. They even made art out of it. I'll say for anyone who's watching this, if you're interested in finding out more, there's also things that you can do as far as X's and O's or lines and veils. Those are some more options you can check out. Ooh, more art. I enjoy how they use everything is muted gray, except it looks like the masculine piece, Bluebeard's bride, is blue, and it looks like the feminine pieces are the faded muted gold that you see a little bit, although there's some in the environment around that looks like it's almost lighting up, so that's interesting. Ooh, I didn't notice these hands at the bottom left here. That is something. Okay, awesome. Art, violence, sexuality, death. Oh, the tale itself. Thank you. Thank you, book, for including this, because I did not do my research and I need to know what this is. The fairy tale of Bluebeard is one of the oldest and bleakest to persist and was a well-known story by the time it was written down. There's no correct or definitive version. The many versions of this tale are a testament to the crippling quality of what it is at its core. Violence, sexuality, and death. We know that these subjects are titillating, but like any good story, there are lessons to be learned. Some interpretations say is a tale meant as admonishment for women for the courageous nation. Others say is a tale from women for women. Ooh, interesting. As you read and play out your own telling of this haunting story, allow yourself to connect to this feminine horror. It belongs to you, dear child, your burden and your thrilling dare. There is no flinching away from it. The horror you unlock will be what it will be, and you must find your own meaning in the respect to your own life, and ask yourself how that tale reconciles with your hopes, your dreams, and your darkest fears. Remember, though, it's just a fairy tale. Oh, they have the whole story in here. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, it looks like it's 3 pages. You know what? I don't know the tale, so we're going to take 5 minutes to go over it and see what this is about. Once upon a time, there lived a lord whose palace was so splendid and so richly furnished that even the sultans could not be compared with it. He had dishes of gold and silver, sofas and chairs upholstered in the finest silk. The walls were adorned with every kind of curious antique. There was, however, something very odd about this lord. The color of his beard was a rich and shocking blue. I like the highlighted blue. Oh, they make his words highlighted blue. Interesting. His countenance was both distinct and unmistakable, and so he was never spoken of by his real title, which was grand and noble, but instead he was simply referred to as Bluebeard. He was a fearsome man with deep-set eyes, and he was known for having an uneven temper. Even so, Bluebeard had been married many times. No one quite knew what had become of each of his wives in turn, and there had never been a funeral at the palace that anyone living could remember. They simply vanished, and when time passed, he would marry anew. One day, Bluebeard went hunting in the countryside near his estate. With the sun high, he came upon a dilapidated farmstead and wished to slake his thirst and rest. The farmers were eager to please the powerful lord and sent their lovely young daughter scurrying to serve him tea and bread. Bluebeard was instantly smitten with her beauty. He decided right then that he would take her as his wife. Oh boy. For a week he entertained her amongst a cadre of other fine lords and ladies. No expense was spared. His wealth was dazzling in the way a cobra dazzles a mouse. After that single hedonistic week, Bluebeard came to call with a marriage proposal. Bluebeard scared the young woman, but she couldn't let her family languish in poverty. And besides, maybe his beard wasn't quite that blue. She accepted his proposal. In short order, they were married at the palace. Such a sight it was. 1,000 white lilies decorated the pagoda for the ceremony. Delightful incense burned throughout the night. The young bride awoke the next morning in her bed alone, her marriage yet unconsummated. This caused her some amount of anxiety, yet also relief. She was escorted by a servant to the dining hall, and there she found Bluebeard breaking his fast. He greeted her cheerily and bade her eat. Bluebeard informed her that he had received urgent news and must leave at once on a journey of much importance and would likely be gone many weeks. To console her, he kissed her affectionately and gave her the keys to every door in the house. He bade her to amuse herself in his absence. "Here," he said, "are the keys to your new home. The smallest key, my dear, is for the closet at the end of the great gallery. Open everything, go everywhere, save this one little room. I forbid you to use that key." The bride promised to faithfully obey his order. She stood waving to him from the palace gates at his caravan of camels and horses kicked up a trail of dust as they departed. No sooner was he gone than she began to wonder what could possibly be hidden behind the forbidden door. Did he hide disturbing habits or unseemly desires? Was there some secret treasure known only to those of noble blood? Did he hide a mattress, or was it something too terrible for her innocent mind to guess at? She distracted herself from the idea with an exploration of the palace. She inspected the galleries, each more magnificent and splendid than the last. She tried on exotic furs and rubbed herself in priceless oils. She visited the servants in the kitchen, which caused quite a stir, and luxuriated in steamy marble baths. All the while her curiosity was gnawing at her. Was not the palace now her domain? Did her husband not trust her with his secrets? She idled in her bedchambers, becoming lethargic and gloomy. The splendor of her surroundings took on a sour bent, and she could take no pleasure in them. Finally, she could resist the siren call of the forbidden door no longer. In the pitch of night, she took a single lamp and descended a back staircase to the gallery. Upon reaching the closet door, she paused, remembering her husband's command. She feared what might happen if she disobeyed, but the impulse of her curiosity was too strong to resist. With trembling hands, she fit the small key into the lock and opened the door. At first, with the weak lamplight, she could not see much. As her eyes adjusted, she realized what was in the room. The floor was covered in congealing blood, and the walls were lined, with headless bodies. Bluebeard's previous wives. A great scream tore itself from her throat, and she dropped the key. It was moments before she came back to herself. In a daze, she grabbed the key from the floor and rushed out of the room. She locked it behind her and returned to her chambers. In the daylight of the following morning, all seemed like a dream, but when she examined the small key, she found a stain of blood upon it. She wiped it carefully, but the blood remained. Then she washed it and scoured it with sand, but to no avail. That very evening, Bluebeard came back from his journey, saying that he received word on the road that his business had already been settled. His wife tried her hardest to appear happy at his early return, but inside she quailed. She waited with dread anticipation for him to ask for the return of his keys. He did so upon the next morning. He looked through the keys and saw the littlest one was stained. How comes this blood upon the key?" "I do not know," she faltered. "But I do," mocked Bluebeard. "You have done as I have forbidden. Well, now you will go in once again and take your place among the ladies you were so curious to see." Oh my God. The bride threw herself at the husband's feet and begged him to forgive her disobedience, but Bluebeard had a heart of flinty stone. "Prepare for your death," he declared. "No, please give me but a few minutes," she cried, "so that I may pray." Oh my God, folks. It is a lot. Bluebeard agreed, and the bride rushed to the top of the nearest tower, hoping against hope that someone, such as her father or mother, may be approaching for a visit, so that she could give them a sign to make haste. Pennants whipped silently in the sun, but nobody was coming. The bride wept bitterly. Given no choice, the bride descended. He led her towards the tiny, horrible room. Near its entrance, he bade her kneel on the rough flagstone. She obeyed, weeping, and without... Oh my God. It gets worse, folks. Without ceremony. Hello, Emma. Okay, since someone new joined, I'm just gonna say really quickly, Content warning on this. It involves murder and it involves murder and horror and violence against women. And I'm just about to get to the final punchline of, well, not the final punchline, because punchline is the wrong word, the final piece of this story. Given no choice, the bride descended. He led her towards the tiny, horrible room. Near its entrance, he bade her kneel on the rough flagstone. She obeyed, weeping, and without ceremony, he chopped off her head and put her body among the other wives. Oh my gods. Reading that story was like, just reading this puts you into the yes, all of those. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, when I upload this to YouTube, I'm going to copy those. I'm going to copy those, include those in the doobly-doo. Oh, okay. Well, let us continue on. My oh my. Oh. Okay, so it looks like talks a little bit more about the bride. It looks like I could go into some details. So this game is about a number of sisters who are the different parts of the psyche of Bluebeard's bride. Very curious to see how this works, so let's dive into this. You may be wondering how all of you are supposed to play as the bride at one time. I am curious about this. Frankly, my dear girl, you're going to have to share. The psyche of any person is complex, and the bride no less so. Think for a moment about all your inner voices. Is there a part of you that may be a little naive, maternal, or deeply sexual? In Bluebeard's bride, each of these aspects are called sisters. Each player picks a unique sister to play, but some actions may lead the bride to be harmed through physical, mental, or emotional violence called trauma. On occasion, one sister is hurt while the others remain safe, but should a sister receive too much harm, she will shatter, losing that part of herself to madness forever. Each sister may view the evidence differently, allow the bride to have complex, even contradictory feelings about the things and people she encounters. More on these inner workings of the bride discussed later, so do not get ahead of yourself, Missy. I actually quite enjoy the tone that they take. Although it feels a bit, it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, even. That being said, I think an air of uncomfortability is what they're going for with this. I think that is a part of sort of the experience that they're delivering in this game. The house. The entirety of your story plays out within Bluebeard's domain. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The house doesn't have to be a house at all. It can be a palace, a mansion, or a estate, blah, blah, blah. There are a number of servants within the household, maids, butlers, cooks, kennel masters, and more. As a lady of the house, they are yours to command, and only a slovenly wife would permit the staff of her husband's estate to allow it to fall to ruin. Okay. The keys and the doors. It is super condescending. Yeah. I concur with that. The house itself has a supernatural quality and foreboding sentience. Interesting. This is very... I'm going to highlight this part. You may enter a room on the first floor and exit that same room to find yourself on the third. It's almost as if, it's less about the house and more about the narrative that you're exploring. You can take a morning stroll down a hallway and by the end of it find the sun is setting. You may stare at a stained glass window only to realize it is a mirror. You can lose time or perspective within the twisted halls of Bluebeard's house. Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Yes, yep. I also was reading it very much as the voice of the patriarchy, very much as a misogynistic, all the different qualities that Bluebeard sort of embodies. Another person joining. I'm gonna say the content warnings again. I am literally gonna say them every time a new person joins, just because I think that's important for these. Quinn, this game includes violence against women, gaslighting. It includes assault, violence, misogyny, a lot of those different pieces, and we're still in the beginning of it, but those things are already coming up in here. So just a warning on those. Let's see what else is in here. The ring of keys that Bluebeard has given to you can unlock any door in the house. Much like the house itself, the keys are fantastical. Bone or horn or iron, sculpted glass, liquid metal, or fluttering living wings. Let your imagination run free. I'm very curious to try, and I want to know what the keys... I want to understand better what the keys represent. Because I feel like the keys have a very important significance in this. Like, yeah, I'm going to think on that as we go through this. Oh boy. Okay. So the blue text, anything in blue is just scares me now. Oh boy. Okay. So let's read this. It looks like they've got some examples in here of maybe gameplay or something. But since it's in blue text, that makes me worried. It's the middle of the game, and a quiet ghost is stalking the bride down a hallway. The animus currently has the bride's wedding ring. Yes. Yep. That is a good point. There are visual representations of the things that this game is describing as far as the different content warnings insofar as that we've mentioned already. Oh, that is a very good point. I want to get out of here, the animus says. I want to go into a room to see if I can get away from it. Whoops, excuse me. Okay, but you better do so quickly. It looks like it's gaining on you, Whitney, the groundskeeper, tells her. As you sort through the key ring, you find a key that looks like it may unlock the closest door. Please describe it for me. The animus thinks a moment. The key is made of soft gold and is slightly warm to the touch, like it's been left on the sun. It has designs on it that, like something from Aztec art, there are little rubies embedded along the key spines that are remnant of drops of blood. Oh, no, I totally appreciate that. No, not you, not hijacked at all. I appreciate that mention. This is literally my first look at it. I've only seen beforehand the artwork of this. I do know that like it has a lot of these things in it, but I did not realize that there was more detailed or graphic things coming up. So I appreciate knowing those. And you know, it is totally possible that I get to a point in this where like I myself am at where I am at as far as being comfortable, and we might not even get through this whole review. I might have to take a break and revisit it later. We'll find out based off of how it goes and how comfortable things are. I don't want things to get horribly uncomfortable on stream for a review, but thank you, and I appreciate it a lot. Whitney probes. What are the teeth of it like? Ooh, the teeth. Oh, made of obsidian like a ritual dagger. Okay, the matching door looks incredibly heavy. Carved into it is a stylized scene of ritual sacrifice. A woman lies prone on a bed of stone at the top of the pyramid, and a priest... Oh, bleh. I'm going to skip some of the like detailed parts, and if y'all want, you can read the screen in particular. Okay, well, we're going to skip the rest of that story because I think we got the gist of it. Tokens of faithfulness and disloyalty. Tokens. Actually, before I jump to this, the keys are interesting. It seems like it's another mode of horror and sort of just transcending the themes rather, across all the different parts of the game. So, interesting take. I like it. I like the transcendence of theme throughout different parts of the game. Tokens are small objects or mementos that symbolize events that took place in the room. Okay, so it looks like as you go through different places, you're going to get these different things. You won't uncover all the details of that story, but some ambiguity should be expected. The bride's wedding ring is passed betwixt the sisters to represent dominance over the bride's actions. And the player with the bride decides what the token is and if she supports Bluebeard as a killer or simply a misunderstood and unlucky man. Oh god. Ay, ay, ay. One thing I don't know about this game yet is is this a game that you can that first time you play this game, is that going to sort of have different parts involved for, if you play it again, is that going to not be the same? Is the game set up for replayability? I think we'll find that out as we go, but it's just a question that I have going into this. If the bride decides a room holds proof that Bluebeard is innocent, she is considered faithful and takes a token of faithfulness. Ooh, traveling home. Okay, happy trip home. See you later. But if the bride determines his guilt, she is deemed disloyal and takes a token of disloyalty. You may be surprised at the strange impulse some of your sisters ascribe to the events that took place in the room, and sometimes you may even be swayed from your first thoughts. However, do not look to the groundskeeper for clarification. It's your decision to make. Indicate which tokens you take on the bride sheet. When a token track fills up, you trigger the end of the game, and the conclusion of your version of the fairy tale is revealed. Interesting. Oh boy. This is a cool art piece. The aesthetic, the artist, we're on page 25. I'm going to go take a quick look at the artist credits. Art direction by Marissa Kelly, art by Rebecca Yanovskaya and Kring. Additional art by Juan Ochoa, Miguel Angel Espinoza, Mirko Paganesi, and Tawny Fritz. Cool. Not familiar with them, but I do think that the art that they've done and accomplished is really a great aesthetic and very skilled. This one scares me because of the hands that are coming out of the side to grab her. Yeah, that's spooky. Okay, so that looks like the introduction. Wow, that introduction, this game has so far done a really good job of it's doing what it's trying to do. Yeah. Just reading it has an air of uncomfortableness about it, which is interesting. There's not a whole lot of games that I can think of that I've read that have really done that. Let's continue on. Okay, part 2. I might go through this one a little bit quicker. We're really taking our time through this one, but that first part really demanded we take our time and not go through it too quickly. Role-playing is as simple as having a conversation. Ooh. I'm going to skip some of the more misogynistic parts of the text if there's a lot of them, and they come in every now and then. Interruptions. To keep the tension high in your scenes, the groundkeeper might cut into the conversation to move things along to a new point in the story. Respect their facilitation. Okay, so it looks like just a little bit on how to play the game. We refer to the collaborative story you're creating together as the fiction. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. The rooms. The truth, my dear, will not come to your bride who merely sits in one place. The groundskeeper will guide you through a series of rooms. Within each room, the bride aims to propose a truth about what happened, to whom, and why. Proposing a truth allows you to collect a token of faithfulness or disloyalty, furthering the evidence she has for or against her husband. As the door closes behind her, it is up to the bride to determine the truth about the room, so it is crucial that the sisters and their players be proactive about their investigation. Okay, so it's kind of just telling you to, like, you gotta go do the thing. You know, a horror movie isn't interesting if everyone just sits in one spot and tries to stay safe. The final room, you know which room that is the one room you've been itching to open. The one room your husband forbade you to enter. The one room that will bring you pain and misery and ruin that there is no going back from. When you've collected enough evidence for or against your husband by filling one of the token tracks, the groundskeeper will ask you what you do next. The answer you and your sisters give to this question determine the fate of the bride. Everything the bride has done was for this moment, playing to find out what would happen when she was faced with that locked door of the one room her husband, Bluebeard, forbade her to enter. Now the bride must decide if she'll open the forbidden door, merely peek through the keyhole, try to run for her very life with her questions unanswered, or if it is already too late for the bride to avoid her fate. That's really interesting. I like that they included here playing to find out what would happen. That is a very powered by the apocalypse kind of thing to say, and that sort of goes back to some of the principles that we see in a lot of those modern games. So I like that they included that very nice on the spot wording of it. Oh boy. So you have some outcomes. Interesting. You can have a faithful bride, a disloyal bride, a shattered bride. Oh boy. Most of the moves in Bluebeard's Bride do not use dice. Interesting. Curious to see how this goes. Instead, they spell exactly what kind of action should happen when the move has been triggered by what you say or do as the bride. Okay, so let's see. However, you might do something in the fiction that would normally trigger a move, but you do not need the requirements. You might, for example, urge your sisters to dirty yourself with violence, a ring move, when you do not have the ring. In those cases, the sister with the ring will decide what you do. Interesting. Okay, and so it has some moves in here that we're going to check out. The moves allow the bride to connect with the story, walk the halls, and interact with the world in real and exciting ways. Okay. At any time throughout the game, a sister can trigger one of the maiden moves. More restricted are the ring moves, exit moves, and your unique sister's face move, all of which apply in certain circumstances. Okay. Whew. Let's read this little blurb and see how some of this works, because I'm sort of putting it together in my mind. I'm going to caress a horror, the fatale says. She has my hand in hers, so I use my other hand to run my fingers over her cheek, rubbing her lower lip with my thumb. Ooh. Great, Marissa says. Roll the dice and add your blood. I rolled an 8. The fatale checks the move sheet. It says that the horror will direct its attention to another victim in the house, and it wants me to participate. Oh my god. Do I need to say who it is? Nope, I'll take care of that, Marissa says. The woman smiles and nods at someone behind you. When you turn, there's another woman, and she's smiling too. She keeps smiling even at the first one even as the first one reaches out and yanks a handful of hair. Oh, goodness. The first woman gestures for you to do the same. What do you do? Ew, the Virgin says. Don't do it. Pull out that woman's hair and... Oh. Oh, my goodness. Okay, some of these I don't think we're going to go through... Oh, yeah. Some of these are uncomfortable to vocalize. So rolling hits and misses. So powered by the apocalypse, so it's 2d6 plus blood, carnality, or resilience. The outcomes are quite plain. 7 or more is a hit. Any total of 6 or less is a miss. In general, a hit means you accomplish the goal of the move. A 7 to 9 is a mitigated hit. Okay. Things you encounter in Bluebeard's house may wish to misuse you. Some creatures will only hurt you a little bit by clawing your skin as they rip your wedding dress from you. Oh boy. And this is indicated by taking 1 trauma. Others may have deeper lessons to impart on you. So the 3 trauma they inflict while wrenching... Oh boy. Okay, so you get different amounts of trauma. The groundskeeper will tell you the amount of trauma you take and ask if you wish to share it or take it alone. There is no mechanical reason for you to do either. That all relies what is in your heart and how much enmity lies between you and your sisters. Interesting. Triggers and uncertainty. So it looks like this is a section on... Before I jump into that section. So for the most part, it seems like pretty powered by the apocalypse style things. My hunch is that is some of the best mechanics that could be used in a game like this. I think that's sort of where I'm at as far as like thinking about the mechanics and how these play together. Let's keep going. Using moves may seem constraining. After all, isn't the best part about being a new bride that your husband gave you permission to wander about freely and do whatever you like? Why would we want to limit what the bride can do, and why is the sister who wears the ring the only one that can take certain actions? Ooh. We're about to get into some of the, again, narrative that they are adding into the rules here. Do not ask these silly questions. You are a young woman with more self-control than that of a child running barefoot in the streets. Moves are limits that promote creativity and provide a structure so everyone at the table will be on the same page. You will notice that in Bluebeard's Bride there are no moves for lifting heavy objects or leaving the house. You do not need moves to spell out that you are too weak to move the 1,000-year-old mahogany bureau, or to remind you that your place is at home. Oh my god. That piece right there, putting those two things in the same sentence together is a lot. Ugh. Comparing moving a 1,000-year-old mahogany bureau to your place at home. Okay, so let's skip some of the part and check out these bullet points. When the bride, blah, 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 blah. So it looks like this just outlines some of the different things that can happen in the game. When the bride wails for help in the darkness, neither she nor the groundskeeper knows who will answer until the dice are rolled. Okay, so it just talks about some of those things. Interesting. Okay, let's take a look at some of these moves. I'm just gonna, before I jump into these, I am almost a little bit like surprised at how much they've put into the aesthetic and the vibe to get that to come across while you're just reading it, I would say. Yeah, It is a lot. Like, just reading it is a lot. Interesting. So let's continue on. Mating moves can be called upon by any sister anytime. There are no dice involved in these moves. Okay, The 3 maiden moves are care for someone, investigate a mysterious object, and take stock. When you care for someone, servant or whore, you ease their suffering and bridle their torment. They may demand a demonstration of your sincerity. Okay, interesting. Oh, I'm gonna skip over some of that art. If y'all are interested in checking it out, you can check out the VOD and pause there, or buy the game yourself. That was page 34 of the PDF. I guess page 33 of the actual book. Investigate a mysterious object. Feels off-putting at first, but I think it mirrors the aesthetic of the tale itself really well. It actually puts you in the headspace of the bride, which is dramatic. Yes, I agree with that. This text has the power or the ability to put you into that headspace, and it does mirror that aesthetic really well. Like you said, I agree with that. Investigate mysterious object. Okay, so when you investigate mysterious object from a room, ask to do. Okay, so more very powered by the apocalypse stuff. Do the thing, choose from a list. I like that. We've got some blue text here. I think we're gonna keep going on that one though. Whew. When you take stock of a tense situation, I feel like I would use this move a lot because this game feels like this feels like a very appropriate move for what this game sort of puts things, for the stuff that the game puts onto the table. Let's see what it has here. When you take stock of a tense situation, ask 1. Oh, what stalks the bride from the shadows? What traps have been laid for the bride? What does this place demand of the bride? What horror here is hidden from the bride? Oh my goodness. You can't trigger this move if there's no uncertainty in this situation. Oh my goodness. Okay. See ya in a bit. Oh. Goodness. Okay, so those are some of the moves. I think those are... I'm just like looking back and seeing if they cover everything. Care for someone, so that's sort of like a more intimate, persuasive social thing. Investigate is trying to like move forward on the mystery and understand it better. And then you have take stock, which is almost like a perceiving your situation to understand it better. Interesting. Goodness. Okay, ring moves. I'm curious. I think this is where my hunch before I read into this, I think this is where some of the control and lack of control is going to come in. Because you are controlling one character, all of you. So I'm curious to see if any of that comes up in this ring move stuff. Ring moves supersede the maiden moves, and you can trigger moves that the other sisters cannot. Once you make a ring move, pass the ring to a sister who has not yet had it. The ring moves are shiver from fear, caress a whore, goodness, dirty yourself with violence, cry out for help, and give up the ring. In this section, we explain why each of these moves and talk about them. Okay, so I think we'll do another like quick look at each of these moves. I'm really glad I have my blanket because it's keeping me more comfortable in this situation. Just gonna like bundle up. Take like a moment before I jump into each section. Whew. Oh, goodness. Goodness me. Shiver from fear. When you shiver from fear, name the thing you are most afraid will happen. Alright, that's a lot to do. The groundskeeper will tell you how it's worse than you have feared. Oh my god. Ah. Keep the ring and choose 2, or pass the ring and choose 1. It infects the bride with its perversion. Oh goodness me. It has the bride in its clutches right now. Oh boy. It speaks to you. Take 1 trauma. Just you, sister. Shiver from fear is triggered when the player of the sister with the ring squirms in her seat, shudders, or utters words of discontent. Oh my goodness. Oh. That is a lot. This is a player triggered move. I have never seen that before in a game. My game design instincts are like, wow, that's really cool, but I'm also like just processing how that would look at the table. Goodness. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Oh boy. I don't think I can read the shiver from fear example at this moment. Caress a horror. When you caress a horror, roll plus blood. On a hit, the horror is swayed by your stroke. Direct what was intended for you to another victim in the house. On 7 to 9, it will shift its attention, but only if you participate in some way. Goodness. Oh. The touch must be affectionate, gentle, sensual, or at least have a semblance of vulnerability. The bride cannot trigger this move with simple words or by touching herself, and even if the bride indeed captures the horror attention with her touch, its intentions remain unchanged. I think this is a game that would be really tough to play on stream, personally. Or at the very least, I would want to play it with an in-person group where I could have a space that I was like very comfortable with, and not sort of like being watched by viewers that are watching the game as well. Goodness. Whew. Oh boy. Dirty yourself with violence. When you dirty yourself with violence, roll carnality. That is carnality as a stat. Oh. Yeah. On a hit, you inflict trauma as established and choose 1. Well, we're not going to go into the details on that one because I think that one is we can put that behind the veil. Cry out for help. I think this one too, I think the title tells us enough about it. Yeah. It takes a lot of emotional effort to go through these moves. Give up the ring. Okay, I'm curious about this one. Whew. Oh, great. This text is creeping me out. When you voluntarily give up the ring, pass the ring to the next sister. You are immune to trauma until that sister passes the ring. Do not be surprised that you may wish to give up control of the body, dear girl. We are hurt through our bodies after all. And if someone else can take that pain from you, why not pass it on? Bluebeard's bride pays attention not only to physical harm such as scratches, bruises, and tears, but also the invisible wounds that open your tender self to harsh words and horrific sights. I'll reiterate at the beginning of this book, it actually talks about safety tools, specifically the X card. This is the first game that I've seen that really explicitly lays out that. And I thought this was a game that needed it. Now I'm at the point where, like, yes, that is like critical and crucial. I think it's critical and crucial for a lot of spaces, but this one really, 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 really is important to have an X card or other safety tools. Oh, okay, exit moves. Jeez, how long have we been streaming for? We've been streaming for over an hour. Okay, let's keep going. Exit moves are the only way for the bride to exit a room. That's terrifying. Just, it's gonna get spookier going on. Only the sister with the ring can make an exit move, as she is the one in direct control of the bride. The modules are written this way too. Oh boy. You know, speaking of the modules, I haven't got into them, but one thing I would like to see in the modules is sort of like a traumatic sort of gauge at the beginning of each of them, where like this is sort of the intensity and concentration of the traumas that you might see in a module, just so you can get an impression of like, is this one going to be like really a lot heavy, or is it going to be more of a uncomfortable but not, you know, beyond that. I just think that'd be a valuable thing for the modules to have. Whew. Okay. Only the sister with the ring can make an exit move, as she is the one in direct control of the bride. The other sisters can and should tell the sister with the ring how they feel about her decision, but it's up to the sister's discretion how much she lets those opinions sway her. Once you make a ring move, pass the ring to a sister who has not yet had it. The exit moves are escape without proposing a truth and propose a truth about a room. Okay, so let's take a look at these, because this is really building up to the ultimate conclusion of the game. When you attempt to escape without proposing a truth, the groundskeeper will offer you a hard bargain or ugly choice. Very powered by the apocalypse right there, but I like it. If you pay the price, you escape. You can escape a room without proposing a truth, although you will not receive a token. If you are worried that a phenomenon in the room is out of hand and you must flee, or you cannot stand to be here for one moment longer, you are escaping. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Propose a truth. When you propose a truth about a room, detail what you think happened in the room, to whom and why. Next, describe the token you take that supports your interpretation of what happened here, and mark it on the appropriate token track. Okay. This is interesting. This is scary but interesting. I'm starting to see how the mechanics are coming together here. If a token of faithfulness, if it is a token of faithfulness, welcome back. We're on to the exit moves, rather. If it is a token of faithfulness, you are closer to proving that your trust in your husband is well placed. Here's the important part. You heal one trauma. And at the beginning, I was like, why would you, as a player, ever do that? And that this is the thing. And that is, I mean, it's a lot. You heal a trauma, but you are, you know, the whole trust in this abusive relationship is like terrifying. If it is a token of disloyalty, you're closer to proving that your unkind suspicions about your husband are true. Mark one trauma. And obviously, is, you know, in this game, you don't want trauma, but I think the natural progression in this game is you want to prove that, you know, the husband is bad, think that is at the outset something that is more or less a thing that you would want to achieve going into this game. Oh, a lot. Oh boy, okay. I'm gonna skip that page too. Bluebeard's bride has a set number of sisters to choose from: the animus, fatale, mother, virgin, and witch. No sister can be chosen by two players at the same time. Wedding preparation. Oh god, is wedding preparation character creation? That's like terrifying. After you've selected your character, the wedding preparations begin. You'll be asked to describe one physical aspect of the bride. Write down your answer on the character sheet so you do not forget it later. Okay, so depending on who you pick. Oh my god, some of these questions are... Oh... Let's look at some of the questions that all of them have to answer. What are you leaving behind from your provincial life to become Bluebeard's bride? When you first met, what loving gesture did Bluebeard make that won you over? Oh my goodness. What gift did you present to Bluebeard before the wedding? Why did you choose this? Interesting. Oh, sisterly bonds. As part of character creation, you'll establish relationships with your fellow sisters and they with you. Okay. So it looks like it has some bonds. That's very interesting. I'm curious to see how that works in play, in like the actual execution of the game, because it's bonds between different parts of the same character, right? Do not be afraid to establish alliances or grudges with each other. Okay. So it's one of those kinds of games. I think at the outset you want to tell your players that. Oh, okay. How do you pick your stats? The baseline for your stats is in general 0, and typically you will not see a stat with a value of less than -1 or more than +1. A +1 means that stat is particularly strong, and -1 means it's particularly weak. Do you just pick what you want the stats to be? Okay, so it looks like you get to pick these. I think I would, if I was just playing the game, my default would be to pick a 0, a -1, and a +1. Okay. Each sister playbook has 3 options called face moves. Let's take a look at these. The face you show, the face you hide. And is there a third one, or did I miss it? Okay, let's keep going. So animus, this is, I guess, your physical presence. Oh, the animus's face moves follow the thread of violence, command, or protection. When you investigate a mysterious object by breaking it, ask a follow-up question about the object. Its essence still remains, but the item can no longer be investigated by any sister. The rooster. Mark 1 trauma to give a direct order to an NPC. They do it, but choose one. Your order is carried out to the letter and then some. Interesting. The shield. When one of your sisters marks trauma, explain to her how the trauma she's experiencing is... Oh my god. Okay, let's unpack this one a little bit. When one of your sisters marks trauma, explain to her how the trauma she is experiencing is her fault. Oh my goodness. That is aggressive and painful. Then ask if she believes you. If she believes you, she marks one less trauma. If she rejects your explanation, mark one trauma as you experience the shame of your own impotence. Huh. Okay. I don't think we're going to dive too deeply into each of these moves. But it's very interesting how they have, like, very different parts for each of them. Goodness. Oh, wow. This is a very cool piece of art. Oh boy. I think I will, keeping that in mind, I think I will probably skip over a lot of the room stuff. If that's the case, as far as content warnings. Yeah. Interested readers can go read further on their own, I would say. I really like the gold that they used. Ah. I agree with that completely, Emma. It does not play around in any capacity. Whew. Okay. Whew. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, God. It's more misogyny. Okay, so this is for the the groundskeeper, the person running the game. Oh, let's just take a minute before we go on to the next part. I'm gonna go take a peek at Twitter and see what's up there. Oh, I did some grocery shopping today. That was nice. I got did I get anything in particular? I just got usual food, I think. Actually, I picked up a nice beer that I really like. It's called Lion's Winter Ale. It basically tastes like gingerbread cookies. I also got a ginger beer. Food wise, I think I picked up some instant noodles. I grabbed some sandwich stuff. I grabbed like a giant box of Cheerios with Anna and Elsa on it. Because a lot of stuff was Frozen themed at the grocery store today. I do enjoy a good ginger beer. Okay. I'm feeling a bit more centered and calmed down. Let's check our time. Wow, we are an hour and a half into this. You know, sometimes when I do these game reviews, I can get to parts of it. I'm going to put this up on YouTube, so I'm going to leave that one in chat, but yes. Sometimes these game reviews, like, you know, it you can go over the content, you can see what's in the game, you can like you can easily jump through and get like the gist of it, but this game has a uh, a strength or ability or way to like it. The text that they put together does a really good job of demanding that you take time to carefully go through it. I feel like I could have blocked off way more time for this review and just taken that. But you know what, let's keep going. I think since there are some much more intense content warnings coming up, like I mentioned, I'm going to try and skip over a handful of them. Yeah. Okay, so let's read some of these notes to the groundskeeper. It's good. It feels a little bit gross, but the aesthetic is very strong. We're alone now, just us. Let's have a chat. There's no need for pretense here. The players, those silly girls, think they're ready for this game, prepared for what you might throw at them. They pore over the early pages, seeking out every little hint of safety, thinking to protect themselves with rules. Such simple, foolhardy creatures. Oh, good gracious. Because of all this, the designs, the words that came before, is for you. It was always for you. You, the groundskeeper. The way the moves work, the way the sisters perform their little flirtation, these are windows that show you what the players actually fear. They tell you how their sister is unique by what she says and feels and what the bride does. The players make decisions about how to handle the horrors in each room and how much trauma they're willing to risk to figure out what their husband is up to. And you will learn with every shiver, every nervous laugh. Yeah. A lot of nervous laughs. You'll make them beg you to describe the horror to them one luscious word at a time. Oh my god. It's so much. It's very heavy. This is the best part of the game, when a player's eyes widen in horror. When it sinks in that they are trapped in this house and they begin to sacrifice servants, then each other, as they struggle against the inevitable, and your voice caresses their waiting ears as you tell them how it is all their fault. Oh my god. How their choices led to this bed they made and must lie in, and how their actions, oh good, are the gasoline soaking the very bedclothes, turning it into a funeral pyre. Oh my god. Once you were the one to learn proper ladylike behavior. Yes, several blankets. I'm warm, but this is like, I need the comfort. I need like 10 hugs. Matthew. Once you were the one to entertain the careless whims of men, now you will share this wisdom. This is how you run Bluebeard's bride. Follow our advice and you will do well. My goodness. Oh, okay, what does this have here? This chapter holds secrets just for you. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is since this holds secrets just for the GM, I think I'm actually going to skip a lot of it once I feel like it's maybe spoilery territory. We'll see. So the agendas, as a groundskeeper, your attentions revolve around the following agendas. So these are principles if we're speaking empowered by the apocalypse terms. Make the bride and her experiences feel real. Fill the sisters' lives with fear and horror. Play to find out what the bride chooses. Wow. Oh. Okay, and then it has more detailed ones in here. Oh, no, these are the principles. This is the agenda. Sorry. It did use powered by the apocalypse terms. I got it confused. The agenda is a specific thing. And then these are the principles. Breathe unnatural life into the house. Address yourself to the sisters, not the players. Goodness. Give each inhabitant of the house a drive. Ask about the bride's fears and build on the answers. Veil your moves with mystery. Hold the bride to her wedding vows. Oh my god. Fill the house with echoes of violence. Blur the lines between the ordinary and the monstrous. That's a powerful one. I feel like that one is... Like, you can look at this game, and at the start of it, you think, like, it's very obvious that what's going on here is, you know, abusive and all those things, and this principle of, like, trying to blur things together is a lot. I'm gonna see specifically what it says for this one. The bride should see herself in the spectacles you present to her. In the end, it should be clear that the thinnest line separates the bride from the abominations that live here. Sometimes that line will blur or disappear entirely, and you should make those moments very clear. Tell the bride early and often about the things at the edge of her vision, the shadows that linger just a little too long. Those forms will take shape soon, and the horrors they present will be all too familiar reflections of the desires she has brought to the house. Gracious. Center the story on women's experiences. I think we should go over this one as well. This one is important. Bluebeard has his fingers on every object and his shadows haunt every room, but this is not his story. This is not about Bluebeard's childhood, his relationships with his mother, or even the gruesome crimes he has committed. Never forget, this story is about the bride and the women who live in the house, whether servant or horror. Bluebeard has touched their lives, but the women in this story have other aspects, other concerns, how they feel about themselves, their body, or their sexuality. Root the story in the tales these women have to tell. Bluebeard is not a protagonist or sympathetic character, emphasis on that one, and should never, ever be stylized as such. There is a place and time for pathos with this kind of villain. This is expressly not one of them. This is a woman's story. You do not have to be a woman to inhabit it, but you should let the feminine experience be your guiding principle. When I saw this game originally, it was described to me as a feminine horror, and I have never seen something like... I've never read any games like that before, but this, I feel like, really embodies that. And I think they did... My initial perspective of this is that they do a good job of laying this out, and I think that is good. Oh, goodness gracious. It's the GM moves. Okay. I think we're gonna go over these quicker. Hint at off-screen horrors. Present evidence of other brides' suffering. Invoke the house's memories and secrets. Oh, goodness. There's a lot. Oh, there's some horror imagery. Curating the rooms. Okay. So now that we're getting into the rooms, we're only halfway through again too. I'm just gonna open up the side panel here so I can take a look at where we are in this. Okay, I'm taking a look at the table of contents. So we've got some stuff here on curating the rooms, managing the NPCs, behind the sisters veil, the session, a new bride, afterward. Okay, I think for the most part, I would like to skip over those. So what I will do is I will skip over them, just as far as wanting to be comfortable with that. It looks like they have an afterward. Interesting. I'm just double checking if there's anything in here that I think would be worth jumping into. Okay. Yeah. It mostly looks like, as far as content, it's going to talk about how you actually create and build those experiences, the rooms, the characters that you're going to run into. There's one section here called Behind the Sisters Veil. Let's take a quick peek at that one. Okay. So it looks like here it talks about the different sisters. It talks about consequences. Okay, and it goes into shattering and stuff. Okay. I think that's good. I'm going to hop to the afterward so that we can bring this together. I think what I would need to do is have maybe a second part where I can go through the more GM side of this. That's sort of what it feels like this would make sense. So perhaps I will do that. We'll see. Just gonna sorry that the screen is changing. Okay. Cool. Afterward, I'd like to read some about the background on this. Whitney, Sarah, and Marissa began work on Bluebeard's Bride at the 2014 Gen Con Hacking as Women workshop. During the workshop, system coaches walked participants through a series of tabletop systems and the core elements of game design. Marissa was paired with Whitney and Sarah as their systems coach. The workshop was the first time all three had spent a substantial amount of time together, and their efforts at Gen Con created the basis for Bluebeard's Bride. That's pretty cool. After the workshop, they continued to labor on the project, playtesting and reworking until they created the final refined version found here. Horror has a deep-seated emotional quality waiting to be tapped. That emotional content can be overshadowed by two-dimensional villains and overwrought set pieces. But underneath the layer of drama is fear, and everyone knows what it's like to be afraid. Bluebeard's Bride taps the emotional content, the fear, through its specific genre of horror. Feminine horror, or horror from a feminine perspective, that usually engages questions around autonomy, sexuality, and trust. It takes place inside and around the body and in spaces that are assumed to be free from danger. Making Bluebeard's Bride has been a labor of love and horror and trust. It has been humbling and terrifying, rewarding and exhilarating. While the depth of darkness we found inside ourselves while making this game was unsettling at times, I feel that. We continually find ourselves humbled and honored by the trust others have given us during the dark journey of creating the game. That's cool. It is still amazing to us that a chance encounter at a workshop would lead us here with a successful Kickstarter and a realized game. We cannot thank our players enough, backers, friends, and partners enough. Blah, blah. Cool. Whew. Interesting. Ooh, mediography. Let's take a look at some of the touchstones. So we got Bluebeard in here, of course. Crimson Peak. The Handmaid's Tale. Games inspired by Apocalypse World, Arkham Horror, Betrayal at House on the Hill. Ooh, Mysterium's in here. That's interesting. Mysterium is a occult spooky style game, but it's not horrific. Movies: Coraline, Ex Machina. Oh my goodness. I'm just going to double check that that's the movie that I think it is, because I have a quick story if it is. Oh, it is. I watched Ex Machina when I was alone. I just heard good things about it. It may have been apparent that horror is something that I get squeamish around, or don't experience a lot. Ex Machina is not a horror, but it was probably one of the scariest movies that I've ever watched in quite a long time. Like, again, it's not horror scary, but if that interests any of y'all, I would recommend taking a look. I guess, yes. When I think of horror, I think of like ghosts or supernatural, or, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, or those kinds of things. Yeah, it was definitely a psychological horror. I guess that is the wording that I was looking for. Yes. I've not watched Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I've heard some of the content warnings. I think maybe someday I'll watch it. I think it would be a lot. Yeah. Interesting. I like how they included music in here. And then the index. Oh, okay. Let's take a quick look at some of the things that come with this game. So you have your token track of faithfulness and disloyalty. Ah. So when you choose a character sheet, your +1 is filled out for you, and you can choose the 0 and -1. Interesting. So you have your trauma here, your moves, your bonds, the wedding prep. Oh my god. So it's the different character sheets. Oh. The shattered lines? Sure. Is that on? Oh, those are the black pages after the playbooks. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this first one. Oh my god. Okay. Let's see. When you shatter, read the following passage aloud. When a new sister shatters, read it along with her. We are no longer whole. Our connection is severed. Our mind is fragmented. Our deepest fears are exposed. Our blood feeds the horrors, and I welcome them. Oh my god. When a sister misses her role, the groundskeeper may look at you to describe what happens to the bride. Use the following prompts to help describe what happens to the bride. Answer with what you find frightening. Illuminate the horror and beauty as well as gore. So once you shatter, it looks like you're sort of on the GM side. Describe interesting details using all 5 senses. Welcome to feminine horror, y'all. Oh my goodness. Wow. So when one of you shatters, you flip over your page and you all together read that. Wow, that would be something I've never experienced at a table. It would be so different. Goodness. Looks like they have some stuff on the final room. I am going to leave that a bit just because I kind of want to read the GM stuff before I read more about the final room. Oh, and then they have the moose here. Interesting. Wow. Goodness me. This is the last page. Wow. Some of my thoughts. It was a lot more than I was expecting. By like a magnitude, I would say. I am really impressed with what they have done. And, you know, at the start they do talk about going into this and some of the darknesses that you find within this are unsettling, and that is definitely the case. But they also pair it with the other pieces and parts of the theme that really are important, I'm gonna say. Overall, I'm glad that I have taken a look at this to see what it's more about, and just seeing some of the things that people have designed in the tabletop community, because this is so unique in that way. I do think it's... I wanted to do this review before PAX, because in PAX they're running a bunch of Bluebeard's Bride. Or maybe not a bunch, but they're running some, and a person who I enjoy on Twitter, Sharang Bawas, is running one. But I think it was a good decision to know a bit more about what this game was about before doing that, because jumping into this at a con would be a heck of a lot. The thing that has stood out the most to me while reading this is how much it really puts you into that. Emma, you explained it really well. I'm going to scroll up and find it. It really puts you into the headspace of the bride, which is traumatic. That's what was there earlier. And I think yes. I agree with that. Playing this game with a man as a groundskeeper, I hadn't considered that. Thinking about it, I see that, and yeah, yep, I concurred with that. I agree. Yeah. There's the one other thing where it's... Yeah. Yep. I will just agree with what you're saying, that playing it with a group of trusted femme and queer people is, I think, where this game I could see being the most suited. Interesting. I'm just like... Sometimes I do this thing where I like feel the emotions, but they don't really go into thoughts. I'm just sort of like feeling through what this review is like. Overall, I think I would say that if someone was interested in this and could find a group who was all on the same page and had trust and those pieces, to try it out, I think it is definitely not a game for a lot of folks. I think it's a great opportunity to create. Since I'm uploading this to YouTube, I'm gonna just sort of say what you have here verbatim on stream. So Emma says, I think it's a great opportunity to create space for folks to understand what's like for a lot of people in our society and how they walk through the world. People doubt their abilities, doubt who they are, doubt how they present themselves. Yeah. I will say, like, Emma, you are just on point with a lot of the things that you're sharing, and I super appreciate that. And appreciate the sharing of them. Crazy. You know, looking at this cover art now and seeing the picture of Bluebeard is a very different experience than looking at it when we started this. Yes. Yes. Okay. Wow. Whew. I'm gonna do some wrap up. The trauma is very, very intense. This is a game, I have never seen a game address the players so directly before. I feel like, looking at it, they did a really good job of that too. That's my first impression. They did a good job of addressing the players. I'm having I'm having second thoughts about playing this at PAX just because I don't think that's the environment. Especially, to be quite honest, if it's like with a bunch of men as well, and myself as a man, that is probably not the place, time nor place. Whew. Wow. What a review. Oh my god. Okay, I think I'm gonna start wrapping up, and I'll maybe share some thoughts in that wrap up if they come to me, but that was sort of the big ones. This is a game I've been interested in reviewing for a while. I was glad to take a look at it. I hope that y'all in the chat enjoyed it. I think at times it was uncomfortable. I hope it wasn't too uncomfortable. If y'all have any feedback or thoughts, I am more than happy to have open dialogues or conversations about them. Especially, please, if you thought there was things I could have done better for this. Oh my goodness. I am very happy to hear those thoughts out. Especially, thank you so much for the stuff in the chat and sharing those. It has, yeah, I appreciate a lot of the things that you shared during this stream, all of y'all. Going forward, I think the next game that I'm going to review will probably be the Root RPG, which is going to be a lighter tone. It's about animal folk in a forest. And they're all very cute. I'm going to do that when I feel like it. That's sort of how I've been doing these reviews. I'm going to upload this to YouTube later. If y'all don't mind, I'm probably going to grab a lot of the content warnings that you included in chat just so that I can include them on the YouTube video. And then I think at some point there's a game called Beam Saber, which is a forged in the dark mech game. Yeah, I guess Root is literally about like warring over territory, so there is that. But it's with cute animal folk, so how can it be bad? Just kidding. There's ways it can be bad. We'll go take a look at that. I think I'm gonna wrap up here. Thank y'all for joining. Yeah, and with that, we will wrap up the stream. I hope everyone has a good night, and I will see all of you later.